Welcome, everybody, to Denver Wine Radio. I'm Paul Bonaquisti. It is a very special day today because we have blues guitarist and artist, singer-songwriter Jack Hadley in the house. Welcome back to the winery, Jack. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too, and thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, man. You're welcome. You're welcome. So you've been busy.
I have been.
Yeah, you dropped a new CD. Yeah, called Daybreak in Alabama, the Langston Hughes Project. Yeah. I've been listening. It's awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so tell us how this project came about, and also who was Langston Hughes?
Sure. First of all, Langston Hughes was one of the leading figures of the Harlem Renaissance. So, born at the beginning of the 20th century in Joplin, Missouri, and moved to New York City. Kind of in the 20s and 30s, and that's when he, became really active in social movements, the literary circuits that were going on at the time. He was right in the middle of that, and really known for his poetry. But he wrote plays, newspaper articles, all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah,
and really some powerful stuff.
He was doing that. He was doing it like in his 20s. I mean, a lot of started as a teenager, and then I went into his 20s. Yeah. So, okay. So you took his poetry and put music to it.
I did. And the first thing I did was, because the guy had so many poems, I was kind of overwhelmed, and I thought, well, you need to just start looking at this stuff. Mm-hmm. And reading it, first of all, and find some themes and some topics that appeal to you, that appeal to me kind of right away, and stuff that I felt like I could write the music to. And for some reason, I just thought, oh, well, the words are already there. This should be easy. And of course, it was not. It was the complete opposite. Normally when you write a complete song, there's no real formula. It's just kind of a magic process. Sometimes you come up with the music and the words at the same time, or a lot of times what I have done is I will write the words first. So it's like a story, and I start working with different melodies, and I do it that way. But I'm already connected somehow.
Yeah.
And this was completely different because it's somebody else's thoughts, somebody else's words, and I had to interpret the stuff so that it made sense to me. So, like, for example, the first poem was As We Grew Older, and it's real short. So, you have to figure out, well, how do you create a song out of this? You've got to repeat certain lines, come up with a hook, and I'll have to tell you, some of these songs were written 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. There were a couple that were easier, but it was a process. And somebody asked me a couple of weeks ago, they had just gotten, it was a friend of mine, and they'd just gotten a CD in the mail. And she said, well, wow, is this stuff that you had, did you just have these melodies like sort of laying around and then just kind of combine them? I said, no. This was actually almost 2 years in the making.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the whole timing of when this came out and the situation in the world right now, and especially in the United States, it's just something that happened. There was no plan.
Right.
I didn't plan to just like, oh my God, George Floyd, I got to get this out right now. It just sort of happened, in this way.
Yeah, it was meant to be that way. So
yeah.
How did you, and what gave you the idea then a couple of years ago to start a project like this?
I will try to keep this concise.
Okay.
Because the way this started was I met a guy who was a musician, and he said, I was thinking that it would be really cool to do a project based on the poetry of Langston Hughes. And it would be really cool if it could be done with, sort of a jazz and blues combination. And this person has a jazz background. When he said this to me, I immediately, oh my God, that's a great idea. Let's do it. So that's the beginning of this. Mm-hmm. And the idea was for us to work together and write the music together, and I would sing the songs and we would both play. So to make a long story short, this did not work out at all. I would say 6 months into this, we were getting together and trying to write stuff and come up with these songs. And I realized this is not what he wants to do. This is either too hard for him, or he's never done this before, or he's uncomfortable. And the songs weren't being written. And so I would go home and I was like, oh my God, have I made a mistake? I thought this was a great idea and it's just not working out. And so finally what happened was I came to the point where I realized you're going to have to just do this. If you want this to happen, this is not what he wants to do. He wants to play, but he doesn't want to write. So we had some discussions and he admitted that, yeah, that's what's going on. So I'll just kind of wait for you to create this music. So at that point, I took over the entire role of songwriter, creator, etc. And that was the rocky beginning of this project. And I'm the kind of person that, I don't want to give up because I thought it was a great idea. And I had talked to my wife about it and she thought it was really cool. And it's like, God, yeah, you should go ahead and do that because you haven't done anything like this. So yeah, went ahead and got started, and one thing led to another. The songs finally came together, found a studio, got the money together, and found the different players to do this. And I'm just real happy with the end result.
That's awesome.
I'm real glad that it's done, but I'm happy with it too.
Yeah. So obviously that was an obstacle.
Oh yes, it was
having a writing partner, but
yeah.
But anything else on the way that got in your way, or just?
Well,
I mean, it was a smooth sailing after that.
It was. Of course, there's always a money issue.
Yeah,
because it costs a certain amount to record.
Sure,
and in addition to just recording the music, for people who are not musicians, I mean, the recording is just the beginning, because then what has to happen is the engineer has to mix everything. Then it has to be mastered. So it sounds like it's supposed to be on the radio, because otherwise it'll sound like, oh, these guys just did this in the garage and they just burned a CD.
Right.
So there's all that, and all these things cost money. And I had to, ask the players if they would accept a certain amount of money to do this. And, wasn't what they were used to getting, and I get it. And I'm just real grateful that, they accepted that.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah,
I'm sure they saw the value in this, and just being a part of a project like this has to be rewarding to them.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. After I listened to it, there's a wide variety of styles.
Oh, yes.
And topics too. Of course, his poetry goes all over the place. But so was that? Did you specifically do that on purpose, or just?
I did.
Yeah,
I did that on purpose. Number one, because I wanted it to be interesting to people, but also interesting to me, so I could challenge myself. The topic of God, for example, what did his poem mean? What does it mean to me in a song form? And how can I put that out? And there's a poem called Suicide, which on its surface is just like, you want to avoid that. But as I read the poem and I started thinking about it in my mind, it was, you could make this work into a powerful song, and, not something that's going to like blow up in somebody's face or make somebody do something that that isn't a good thing or a positive thing. So all of those issues were important to me. And like you said, I wanted to spread it out into a wide range of subjects and do something different for myself and for everybody else.
No, that's great. And then, in the song, God, your song and his poem, one of the lines really resonated with me, which was better to be human than God.
Yep.
It's amazing to me. So
sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It resonated with me too. It's, wow, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
God, whoever he or she is, God could be lonely too. It's just, I'm by myself.
Yeah.
You guys have got it made in a way.
One of my favorite tracks on here is My People. That's probably my favorite track on the whole CD. So what was your favorite, or what is your favorite track, if you can pick one?
Yeah. That's one of my favorite tracks. I like As We Grew Older because it's different. It's a side of me that a lot of people don't know that I do, which is play the acoustic guitar. That I started out playing acoustic music. And that was one of the tunes that I struggled with because it was short, and it was a short poem, and I made the assumption, I got this made. Mm-hmm. And it was just one dead end after another. And I decided, well, why don't you just strip this down and play this the way you would have played it as a teenager? Because, I started out playing folk music and like early blues and stuff like that. And my mother-in-law in St. Louis found this tenor guitar for me at a garage sale. And she called me up and she said, Jack, I found this guitar. I thought you might be interested in it. And she sends me a picture. A tenor guitar only has 4 strings. Okay. So it's a different kind of guitar, and you have to play it in a different way. And I thought, oh, man. So looks cool. I thought I could make it sound good. So I got the guitar, took it to my luthier, and he fixed it up. And I started playing it and looking up how to play it because it wasn't like a 6-string guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm playing this thing, and I got a rhythm going, and to my ear, it sounded like a mandolin. And that's how I started rolling with As We Grew Older.
Oh, wow. That's the sound in that song. Yeah, because it sounded like a mandolin a little bit, but not quite.
Right, but not quite.
Not quite, yeah. Oh, that's cool. Maybe we should play a little bit of that right now. All right, this is As I Grew Older from Jack Hadley's Daybreak in Alabama, the Langston Hughes Project.
It was a long time ago. I have almost forgotten my dream. It was a long time ago. I have almost forgotten my dream. But it was there then, in front of me, bright like a sun, my dream. And then the walrus rose slowly, slowly, between me and my dream.
Yeah.
And, getting back to your question of what my favorite tracks are here, that's one of them. just because of the creation story behind it, and I'm really happy with the way it sounds. But the other one that I like quite a bit is I Dream a World, because it's a hopeful song, and it's kind of a dance tune. Mm-hmm. It's funky, and it's got a lot of the elements that I like bring into the music when I play live. So there's that one.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I Dream a World. When I hear that, I was listening this morning, and it just reminded me of you playing here. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, the title track, the last song, Daybreak in Alabama, is also a hopeful, beautiful poem. And when you start thinking about the words and his description of what he is looking for, and, the idea of daybreak in Alabama, which can have some negative connotations for some people.
Some people, sure.
It just turned into a beautiful statement to me. So, yeah, like that one quite a bit too.
And tell me about the order of the tracks on here. Or did you place them in a specific way to convey?
Yeah, I did, and I wanted to have sort of a flow, maybe not quiet, but sort of going up and then coming down as well. Sort of calm, folk, acoustic sort of themes, and then hard driving music on the next track or the track after that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a pace that you want to do when you're creating a CD. But yeah, it was especially important on this.
So tell me what you this is a two-part question, but I want to know, what did you learn about yourself, or did you learn during this process?
Yeah. One of the things I learned about myself was that it's really important to let yourself go. And I realized that part of my songwriting block was kind of self-imposed. I was trying to put myself into a box and approaching songs, some of the songs, with a preconceived idea of what I'm supposed to be playing. Well, Jack Hadley, you are this, so you need to write it this way. Yeah. And the breakthrough came for me when I decided to, you need to stop thinking about that, about style, because your background is going to come out anyway. You should just write the song, just free yourself, write the song, and it's going to write itself. So that's one of the things I learned about myself, is that I was not as open as I thought I was. And that bothered me. It bothered me a lot. But I think I broke through.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
Because, when you're in a creative, or you're trying to create something, and you've got years of how you've done it, mm-hmm. or what you think people expect.
Yes.
And yes, so you have to totally forget that and do your thing, and what comes out. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So so the second part of that question would be then, and what's the message you want to convey to your audience, to your listeners? I mean, with putting something out like this.
Yeah. I wanted to just get people to think about the lyrics. I think you can feel a song when you hear it, but I wanted people to think about what the lyrics, what the poems were trying to say, and realize that, this guy wrote his poetry years ago. And, a black man trying to make it in the early 20th century in a completely segregated society, all kinds of problems, obstacles, and unfortunately, a lot of what he's talking about, it's still real today. Maybe not as blatant in many ways, but in some ways, it's out in the open. Like the whole issue of being held back, not being able to realize who you are, because everybody's going to see that, oh, you're a black person. That's the number one thing, and nothing else really matters. So I just want people to think about the subject of the poems, and that the things he was talking about back then are still relevant today.
Absolutely. When I went and read, and to be honest, I'd really never read any of his poetry. My wife had read some while she was working on her doctorate.
Yes.
And she told me about him and really profound things that she learned and reading him. And so then when you dropped this off a couple weeks ago, the CD, I've been reading some of the poems, and especially the ones that you wrote songs to.
Sure.
And you read it. At least I'm reading it and can really feel the emotion. And I think back, well, it was the 20s, but then, it's so relevant to today, everything he wrote. So,
there's the second track, Merry-Go-Round, as a kid trying to be on a merry-go-round and living in a segregated society, asking the question, where do I go? Is there something for me? And yet even today, we have these videos of people being questioned when they go to a swimming pool. Do you live here? Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And they're doing this to kids too, still today. So it all ties in. And yet at the same time, serious subject matters, but hopeful. I think he was hopeful at the same time, as I am. I mean, I think about this stuff, but I think I'm a positive person. I'm a thoughtful person. There are things that bother me, but I don't think it's going to do me or anybody any good to approach this kind of music in a negative way. Like if you were to look at the song titles and go, oh, suicide, I'm not going to even, why listen to that? I'm going to pass that up and move on. So that's how I feel about it. Oh, and just to get back to, the obstacles of doing this.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that I had to straighten out before I could even get started with the writing was the legal part of this. Because, you can't just, well, you're not supposed to. I know some people have done this, but you cannot take someone's work and just use it.
Right.
You got to get this all straightened out. So,
that's what copyright infringement is.
Exactly right. Didn't want to go to jail, so called my lawyer, told him what I was trying to do, and he goes, "Oh, no problem. I'll take care of this." So once I selected the poems, he contacted the Langston Hughes Foundation, and there's a group that manages all this stuff for them, and so got the paperwork drawn up, the agreements, and once that was in place, I was ready to go.
They were very, I don't know what was it, welcoming or cooperative to,
they were. And, part of the agreement is, you got to make sure that you give credit wherever this appears, music by Jack Hadley, arranged by Jack Hadley, lyrics, copyright the Langston Hughes Foundation. So it's all clear. This is where this came from.
Sure.
And, there's also the money part too. Whenever I sell anything, I've got to split the money with them, which is fine. I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. This is an awesome piece of work, man. This is just really cool. And hey, it opened up my eyes and just even more for me to learn from and do better, be a better human being. So
all of us.
And then of course, great music. So thanks for coming down today.
Appreciate it.
This is Jack Hadley, Daybreak in Alabama, the Langston Hughes Project. brand new CD. How do we get it?
Yeah, go to my website, jackhadleymusic.net. And actually, you can stop by here at Bonaquisti Wine. Paul's got a couple of copies as well.
I do.
You can get the digital music on all the platforms now, so that's an option too.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got get out and get this. Go out and read some Langston Hughes. Very easy to do, and enjoy some music from Jack Hadley. So,
Yay!
Thanks,
Paul.
Thanks.
The only radio station in the world inside a working winery. This is Denver Wine Radio, presented by Bonaquisti Wine Company.